All right. Welcome to another one-shot review brought to you by the students of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm Mikey, and joining me are my co-panelists, Declan and Alec. And today we're doing our second part of our Falcon and the Winter Soldier review because the last episode came out last week. So yeah, we're going to talk about it, and we expect a good conversation, guys. So thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Thanks for having me as well.
No problem. And yeah, so we'll just get right into it. But we gotta address the elephant in the room. Okay, the show isn't called. I refuse to recall this show Falcon the Winter Soldier. This is Captain America and the Winter Soldier. God damn it! Okay,
well, that's season 2. That's season 2.
It's a mini series.
Captain America and the Winter Soldier. God damn it!
It's a limited series.
Yeah. But yeah, man. So we'll just get right into it. So we'll be talking about the last 3 episodes because we talked about the first 3 last time. And then we'll go into like theories on what we expect, not just from this show, but in the MCU going forward. Then we'll give our final thoughts and our final verdict. Yeah. So let's get into it. So yeah, episode 4, people, titled "The World Is Watching." This was the holy shit episode. So yeah, we'll just break it down just real quick because I literally wrote a bunch of notes about what happened in each episode. Yeah, but this episode was interesting because it started off with Bucky's rehabilitation in Wakanda. That was really, really cool with him and Io around the campfire talking about to reciting the infamous words in Bucky's programming and finding out that their treatment worked and he is now quote unquote free. Yeah, any thoughts on that, people? I thought that was really cool.
I feel like maybe they probably should have tried it in other languages as well. They tried it in Wakanda and it didn't work. Maybe try in like Russian, the one it was like originally in.
Yeah. It was. I kind of figured what if do it in Mandarin, do it in like Swahili, do it in something else to make sure that he's really good. But I mean, I guess the Russian is all that matters.
He stays in New York for a reason. He's staying in New York for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah. So then that happened, and then after that was them searching. I think were they in I forget which country were they? Were they in Prague? I thought it was like either Prague or like Bulgaria. I don't really remember where they were, but they were trying to look for
somewhere Eastern European.
Not Latvia.
No, I don't think it was. I don't remember which country it was, but I know that they're trying to go around and find Mama Donya's funeral because they figured out that that's where they'll be. That's where all the flag smashers will be. Which I thought was cool. But after that, I wanted to actually pose a question here because I was really thinking about this a lot because I rewatched all the last 3 episodes today. That conversation that Zemo has after they look for intel on where the funeral was taking place, and I love how Zemo used the children as his insights. That's really smart because obviously children don't have any views on they're not going to withhold information because they're children. So that I thought from Zemo was really smart because Sam and Bucky were struggling. But after that, there was a conversation that Zemo had with Sam that I thought was really, really, really interesting. And Declan, you can add on to this because you're a poli-sci major, so you'll know what I'm talking about. But he posed the idea of the superhuman phenomenon is kind of directly ties into supremacism. So I want to open up. So do you think that he was right in that regard for that?
I mean, yeah. Supremacism is kind of rooted in the idea that a culture or a group of people are biologically or culturally better than another. We saw in Nazi Germany, I think it was called the Uberman. Yes, literally translates to Superman. And the original introduction of Superman in DC Comics was actually as a bad guy, as a reflection of the Ubermensch, and eventually he was transformed in the character we know today. But yeah, realistically, Zemo is probably definitely right on that part.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it reflected through John Walker quite a bit. And the kind of everyone that has a super serum besides Bucky and Captain America.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's very interesting because he really he was using the Nazis as like that analogy of that the Ubermensch aspect of their ideology with like Nazism and all that stuff. I thought was really cool. And he kind of like in my notes also here, he kind of also like in that to like prove his point, he even said like there was the Nazis, then there was Ultron, and then there's the Avengers, which kind of like focuses on like the supremacism aspect of those three groups. And I honestly kind of a little bit agree because Ultron was definitely trying to enact like supremacism on the planet. We try to like literally exterminate the human race. And then after that, with the Avengers, especially with the Sokovia Accords, as well as the later threat with Thanos. I thought was really interesting. We have a comment here. It's like, if I may interject for a second, all of the men in this show really made. Oh my God, Diego, really, bro?
Thank you so much, Diego. I love you,
Diego, for your. Oh gosh, but yeah. So after that happened, Sam confronts Carly at the funeral, and I love the fact that they use his they added that like he does veteran counseling, so he knows what he's talking about. He knows how to talk someone down in like a vulnerable state, which I thought was dope. And then just John Walker being John Walker, demonstrating his ego, and decides to like overstep as he always does, and just literally like Sam was about to talk her down. Then he comes in and is like, yeah, enough talking. Let's just arrest her, and then that's when she foils and she runs away.
He's juiced up at that point, right?
No, not yet. Not yet. He was that's going to happen like later, but he wasn't juiced up at that time. But then that's after that. That's when Zemo just like encounters Carly at when he escapes his handcuffs, and then it proceeds to destroy all the super soldier vials left. And then again, which I love Zemo. I love Zemo in the show a lot, just because like I love how he sticks to his beliefs and ideology, and I love that.
I mean,
like,
sort of.
Sort of.
What I think is interesting about Zemo that doesn't really get touched on a lot is how there are some major inconsistencies or hypocrisies in his morals. Like he wants to kill every super soldier except for Bucky because he knows Bucky and he's his friend. He doesn't think that like there should be superheroes or like individuals acting outside the law. But like in the process of getting rid of superheroes, he's making himself a supervillain. Like it seems like there are some inconsistencies in that way of thought. Like Sam mentions, like he's deciding who deserves to exist by sort of like playing God by himself, which I think is like interesting. It wasn't really explored a lot. In the end, Zemo got the last laugh, but
that's true. He did. Well, Alec, you have any thoughts on that aspect with Zemo?
Well, the interesting thing about Zemo in this series is that, one, I'm happy that they expanded his character in this show because it showed things that we couldn't see. It's in the movie because it's an ensemble movie of Civil War. I'm talking about Civil War, where it's only a certain amount of people get a certain amount of development shown. So it's Zemo about it's about him having to use kids. You're right. They are easy. It's to control. Plus, also, too, take into consideration, he was a father.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows how they work because he raised one. But the thing about Zemo is that he is playing God. He seems like judge, jury, and executioner as well. And like, him asking Sam if you would take if you had the choice to take the serum, would you? And Sam, it's without hesitation goes, no, I wouldn't. And he goes, that's something I respect, or something along those lines he said. So it seems that Zemo, he is a person who he is someone who is undoubtedly himself. He's not a fraud. In fact, like, it seems as though he found a new sense of life because, take into consideration at the end of Civil War, he tried to end it after
he tried to kill himself.
Yeah, it's after he completed his mission, he tried to kill himself, but then T'Challa stopped him. So it seems that Zemo, it's in the time he spent in jail, and with how the entire, things have changed, he has a renounced sense of purpose, and that is to extinguish all forms of supremacy. So he seems to have taken on a new sense of entitlement and purpose in life, which is something to think about, really.
Exactly. Yeah. Good points. Yeah, so then I actually thought it looked like he was gonna take it a little bit. Like he looked down at that vial and was like, ooh, and then just destroys it. I was like, yes. Like, he's sticking to it. He's because if he did take the serum, he would have basically you'd be a hypocrite throughout it, involving his entire like belief system he set up for himself. So I was happy that he destroyed it. But yeah, then we saw John Walker take it, grab one and then put it in his pocket. Yeah, so yeah, but then after that aspect, the Dora Milaje show up and try to take Zemo, which I thought was dope. I love that, this show really does a good job of like, and shout out to Wyatt Russell for like killing this role as John Walker, because like he's getting so much hate for being Captain America in this show, but like that means he's doing a great job anyway. Yeah, I loved that he tried to talk him down a little bit. He kind of belittled the Dora, and that's like your first mistake. You don't belittle the Dora Milaje at all. And then they started fighting, and like I thought that was really good. Especially at the end where like after the fight, he's like, "Oh my gosh, they weren't even super soldier." Like I love that. Like I love that moment with him getting his ass kicked by like these badass female warriors. Prove how incapable he is as Captain America. I love that. Yeah. So, what was your thought on that?
To be fair, I think Steve Rogers would have got his ass kicked by them. That was badass.
True. To play the devil's advocate, Steve had a longer time to adjust to the serum. Well, no. John, he didn't take the serum yet, but Steve had time spent as a trained. Well, John and Steve are both great soldiers. Take that into consideration. But John served on the front lines in Afghanistan, so he never fought people with spears. He fought through gunfare, through warfare, through tactical warfare. So John, in this superhero world, is admittedly out of his element. He's out of his element as Captain America, and he's out of his element as a soldier as well. So not trying to defend him, just take that into consideration. Steve had time to...
Exactly.
I mean, again, just playing the devil's advocate.
I bet that the Wakandan soldiers probably had more time devoted to training their martial arts skills than Steve Rogers.
Yeah,
that is true. You can, granted, like the vibranium does help, but there are like some of the most badass fighters probably in the entire world.
All I'm saying is that 10 Wakandan soldiers could take out the entirety of the MCU. That's my hill I'm dying on.
You think so?
Anything up to Vision. That
Gotcha.
like I think that's where their conquest stops.
Well, it's according to Bucky. He said that the trained Winter Soldiers were trained to topple a government in one night or something like that. He said that. Right?
Yeah, so
I would assume. I don't think they could stab Vision. He just be intangible.
Yeah. But yeah, that fight was really dope, especially when the one soldier she kicked the shield up after they fought. Basically, I was like, "Fuck you! You don't mean shit." to John Walker. I thought it was so great.
That was their shield. That's their vibranium.
Yeah. Which we'll talk about that aspect when a new character shows up. But yeah, then after that, Zemo escapes, which was like what I think he planned. I think he planned on it too. Like he knew that John Walker was gonna step out of line and get his ass kicked, and then fade away within the distraction.
That scene, if I can talk about it real quick, but that scene, but that scene had so many great little nuggets. Because with Io, I think I'm saying that right?
Yeah, Io. Yeah.
With Io, first of all, I'm happy to know that it's great to see of how she went from a character who got 3 lines. It's over the span of 2 movies and had a supporting role in an episode in this. It's in episode 6, but not to step ahead too much. But It's great to see that it's progression from film to television. So it's great to see, props to the actress and the writers for having to have her time to shine, for lack of a better term. And and secondly, John, of course, he got his ass kicked, but his ego was bruised in saying that, they weren't even super soldiers. And his ego gets taken down a notch because he started out that fight saying, John Walker, Captain America, extending his hand. Steve never showed himself as Captain America. Steve always showed himself as having to be who he is. John is taking this mantle of saying, hey, it's me. I'm Captain America. You should know who I am. And, shown is throughout the scene here, the fight with Lamar and with John fighting them, and with Bucky saying, yeah, it's looking strong, John, or something like that.
I know, yeah, it's great.
And but no, a great fight scene, and it did great to take John down a notch and show his humility. Well, humble him, for lack of a better term.
Exactly. As well as, the reveal that like they could shut down Bucky's arm anytime they want to. Obviously,
yeah. Which also, and also, super quick question. So it's assumed that they did that. It's as a failsafe. So
100%.
So some people, it's on the internet, were saying like they never trusted Bucky if they put in that failsafe.
Yeah.
Even though he was cured, they still had that failsafe just to, like, as a safe measurement. So does that mean that the Wakandans and like in like maybe like extendively to if T'Challa. Did T'Challa not have faith in Bucky to recover? Is that what that scene showed? I'm wondering.
Sorry, I can go.
Oh, no problem. They probably only gave it to him after they knew or like trusted that he was recovered all the way. I think it's just a mechanism in order to take it off, like just in case they need to, like, because there's no real, like, we don't see any other way for that to detach. It's like, if it needs maintenance or upgrades or anything like that, could also easily be like just like a safety feature, I guess, instead of like a way to combat him.
Exactly. I mean, granted, also just human nature. Just put, just in case anything goes rogue, you have to have a backup plan for that. So, I mean, that's what I think with that scene. But I love that scene a lot. Florence Kasumba, who plays Io, like, I'm happy that she got her due because she's been a background character ever since like Civil War. So
one line in Civil
War. Exactly. So then just to continue after that, Zemo escapes, which we said, and then there's an interesting conversation between Walker and Hoskins that I want to like talk to y'all about. Basically, they're a conversation just debating on if they would take the super soldier serum or not, hypothetically, quote unquote, in this case when it comes to John Walker. And I really like this scene a lot just because it kind of debates, especially with Lamar being John's like North Star, his like jolt back to reason instead of because inherently we know that John Walker's not a good dude, even though he tries to be with Lamar. That that their conversation kind of shows the difference between like the accomplishments and like good accomplishments for good deeds and good choices versus like generally being a good person, because like Lamar is basically just like like, oh yeah, I would definitely take the serum if it was offered to me because like we would have done a lot of good if we had that advantage. Plus, like you obviously, like, if you took the serum, like, it just amplifies the best part of you, and you always make the right decisions. You had 3 medals of honor, for God's sake, but even though he resents that. So like, what are your thoughts on that conversation?
I like the way I kind of saw it is like, I don't know if necessarily before the end of this episode John Walker was like a bad guy, I think he was just a human. Like, and compared to like these heroic figures, it made him look like a piece of shit. But like, I think his number one flaw was just being like a human and having like greed and like pride and stuff that like humans kind of have. And like what I liked about the conversation between the two is like Battlestar didn't even like think twice. He was like, yeah, heck yeah, I would. Just like I feel like if any normal ordinary person was like given the chance to take a super serum, they'd be like, yeah, of course. So like I think that it was cool seeing two people that didn't fight Ultron, didn't fight Thanos, didn't do any of that stuff, like just like discussing if they would want powers and like want to like have a slice of that heroicism without understanding that like with that also comes like the Steve Rogers personality, the Sam Wilson personality of like self-sacrifice, not being greedy, not like all of that stuff that like normal humans have, I guess. And I think that's kind of what Zemo is trying to touch on is like, if you have any personality, like any human traits to you, it amplifies like that greed and like that human nature. Whereas like you have to be like truly like extraordinary, like Steve Rogers, like have like a truly extraordinary personality just to even like handle that super serum.
Exactly. Alec, do you have any like thoughts on this? Or?
I think that showed how desperate John was to live up to the expectations that he has been set up to by extension himself and the government, because John was chosen as the worthy successor after Sam turned it in, after Sam turned in the shield. And so John has this immense amount of pressure on himself that, you know, is from the world and by America and himself, because like, I'm Captain America, I need to meet these standards. John is someone who I think people here can relate. He's set expectations for himself, and after he's been humbled, after he got his ass kicked by these non-super soldiers who he's supposed to, you know, he sent on a task to take down, that's his mission in this series. That's him saying he's down in his worst.
Hi, Sarah. Sorry, we gotta say hi to Sarah.
John's down in his worst, and he's saying to his best friend, if you had the choice, would you? And except Lamar doesn't know that he has the serum. So John is having to get that confirmation, I guess, from his best friend. If you had it, would you? And John does have it on him. Hearing, yeah, I take it, from his best friend, his equal, for lack of like, his brother.
Exactly.
That gives John the push to do what he thinks is necessary to get his job done and to meet those expectations.
Exactly.
So that scene was a great way to show how far John has it shows how desperate John has become.
Exactly. Yeah, good point. I mean, it also contrasts with Sam, you know, obviously like no hesitation saying no, because he knows deep down that he doesn't really need the super soldier serum to essentially like make a difference. He knows that, you know, which I think which again shows what Declan said about the idea of self-sacrifice and all that stuff. So then after that, you know, Carly decides, you know, threaten Sam's family, and that really shows the dark turn that she has in that episode. I thought was nuts. I mean, it kind of put me off a little bit when it came to her, because I was really liking that conversation that they had, that she had with Sam, you know, about the situation with the displaced people, and then the GRC's views on how they decide to take care of these people that are displaced. And then, but now, you know, she threatens his family. It's like, yep, dark turn. Damn. Like, I don't know.
What episode did she blow up the people that were tied up?
Episode 3.
Yeah, that was when.
No, episode 2. No, 3. It was right.
That's when I thought she crossed the Rubicon for me.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah. But this,
people were kind of tied up and innocent.
Yeah, like that was like, okay, yeah, she's evil, but like this kind of furthest meant when she was literally threatening Sam's family in order to like, you know, have a conversation with them. But yeah,
it's I think Carly is a prime example of a tragic villain.
yeah, I'd say so.
I think
Yeah.
every person that could be perceived as like a villain in this series is a tragic villain.
That is true.
Zemo got his family killed. John Walker's being manipulated by the U.S. government. Sharon Carter is kind of just like used in Civil War and then left for dead. And then like Carly was like displaced with all of like her socioeconomic status due to the blip.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a good point.
All right, yeah. So then after that happens, Sam and Bucky finally decide to confront the Flag Smashers at that area. I don't really know what it was. Yeah, and again, John Walker and Lamar intervene as they always do, and we get that iconic shot of that homage to Captain America: The First Avenger, where it's that that medium establishing shot of the doorway and he enters. That was so cool. But yeah, then they start, the fight pops off, and we see John start, displaying some super soldier abilities there when he cracks the shield into the wall, and we're just like, okay, shit.
He took it.
Yeah. Which confirmed that he took the super soldier serum. Then obviously Lamar gets captured, and that happens, and he immediately just like, you could see that he goes nuts when they take his best friend, like that he's not in the right state of mind, and just like this, the battle ensues, it keeps going, and then inevitably Lamar is killed. Battlestar literally dies, and I thought that they weren't gonna kill him off, but he basically, like, Carly punches him into a pillar in his heart to stop from the impact, and he dies. So yeah, what was your thought on that little twist with the death of Battlestar?
I'm always kind of against when like series or like any narrative structure introduces characters just to kill them. Like it's kind of a trope, like the girlfriend in the fridge in comics. Like there's other ways to develop a character than just like using another character for leverage.
Exactly.
I wish they didn't kill him off. I think there was like other ways to like push John over that edge to like make him murder somebody. It's like a good scene. It was very well written, like trope-esque, but well written and emotional scene.
It may have been trope-esque in some eyes, but to me, I thought that I thought that Lamar got enough character development. It's over the course of those 4 episodes because of how he's known, is that he had his own name, his own superhero name. He served with, he served with John. It's in Afghanistan, and I love that thing. It's with the jetpack too. It's super cool. But I thought that Lamar was properly established, and yes, his death was used. It's to serve John's character arc, but I felt that Lamar made his impact as a character. I feel I thought he was established enough, and right there,
yeah, also, right there. When he literally just gets hit, it just drops. So bad.
Also super cool about that scene. It's not dramatized in any way. It's just sudden. It's boom right there. It's not played up for anything. It's just boom. He's dead on impact because that happens. It's nothing. It's not some grand death, I thought.
Mm-hmm. And I think they started building the suspense by separating them originally. Like I felt the suspense building for me when I saw Lamar wake up alone and like his head was all confused and he was like looking around. Like from there, I sort of like got the inkling that something bad was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then like him having that sacrifice kind of was like, like that was kind of like the climax of like that separation, I suppose. Like they were separated, then they reunited, and he saved John from getting hit in the back with the crowbar, and then
here's the thing with me with that moment with Lamar's death. I don't like the whole, like, the best friend, especially the minority best friend, dying to motivate the white character, or to like have them go like over the edge. But at the same time, I understood why it needed to happen, because we all know that John Walker needs to inevitably be that John Walker that we know in the comics, who is, he's like not crazy, but he goes a little bit too far. And I felt like Lamar's death was inevitable at that point. What I'm saying? And plus, like, I originally wanted, we're gonna talk about what's happening next after this, but like, I really wanted Lamar to just wake up and the next episode in the beginning and just be like, what happened? And he tries to catch up to him, he sees what happens, and he's like, and that would be crazy to see, like, John Walker went over the edge for literally nothing, even though he did technically do it for nothing, but like that would cemented that. But yeah,
that's the potential what if episode. Just saying.
Yeah, listen, Marvel, we're giving you gold here. This could be a what if episode,
Season 2. Season 2. There we go.
If they could do Marvel zombies, they could get pretty dark.
Exactly. And then, all right, so to end this episode off, again, like, this sends John nuts. He chases after the person he assumed killed Lamar, which it was the guy who was talking to Carly earlier in the episode about, how his grandfather fought in World War II and how, like, he was a big fan of Captain America growing up as a child, to, like, basically, like, give us emotional, like, depth with this small character which when his fate happens. But John catches up to him and decides to publicly execute this man in the middle of this, like, courtyard, and Lily caves his chest in with the shield. And we get this, honestly, it's my favorite shot. It's everyone's favorite shot in the entire episode. It's just that that worm's eye view shot of John Walker holding the bloodied shield. And this was the holy shit moment that we were expecting with the show. So yeah, any of first thoughts on this scene at the end, this ending?
Bold move by Disney. I'm
bold as fuck
right now.
Literally bold as shit.
It's in all honesty, I could tell from how it was directed that they couldn't show much because for like obvious reasons. Yeah. But I thought that it's either way of how they've shot it. It was an effective way of having our minds fill the gap. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It gave me good impressions of how Moon Knight's going to be shot.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes. But something interesting about this episode, Mikey, that I don't know if anyone has caught on to it. So John here does a public execution that is viewed by the whole world, hence the title of the episode, The World is Watching. Now, back in Black Panther, T'Challa, he catches up with so T'Challa catches up to Claw, and like, he's about to execute him, and then like Okoye says something along the lines of I think she says verbatim, it's the world watches, I think. Yeah. Something like that. And then it showed the crowd viewing the soon-to-be execution. It's with their phones. This episode's title is, I think, a callback to Okoye's line of how the world is watching.
I didn't even think about that. Wow, that's a good point.
So I don't know if they meant to allude to that or not, but that's something to think about, is that, like, this line in the episode, it's the title of the episode. It was almost said in Black Panther, and now in this episode, they view a public execution.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know if they meant to do that. It's with the title of this episode, but just something to think about.
Exactly.
That very well could be.
Yeah. You want something?
I mean, very gruesome. Very, like, definitely a very bad thing.
Yeah.
I like to touch on the next episode, I guess. It's interesting that, like, this got John Walker fired when, like,
Yeah.
The government commits drone strikes and kills like actual civilians. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying what John Walker did a horrible thing, but like he has the justification that it was a terrorist. If like he really wanted to like keep that mantle, the U.S. government just like does it to whoever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he definitely should have lost that shield. Just to clarify that part.
I remember me and you, we talked about it after, like being like, "Yo, like you should just get that shield again," like before we saw the next episode. But yeah, I will say this: this scene was this shot specifically is my favorite. Obviously, my favorite shot in the whole show, and the fact that like it's literally the bloodied shield, which has such an iconic, patriotic imagery and symbolism to it. Now that it's tainted with an innocent man's blood. Literally showed to me, and I posted this as a comment in when I commented on someone's review for it, that this shot really indicates that not just John Walker, inherently the flag smashers due to Carly's radical behavior, but also the U.S. government, the fact that it's just an indicator that like they created a monster, like it's like that giving John Walker the shield was a huge mistake. I
mean, I think, I mean, I don't know what the process. I don't know what the process is to apply for Captain America.
Yeah,
I'm sure that John probably got a psyche eval, right?
Exactly. Probably, I would assume so.
Right? He probably did. It's in the worlds of the MCU, but John. John's manipulated. He is put all this pressure on by the government. And exactly. This causes him to do this because he feels it's the only necessary way. It's John's anger because John just witnessed his brother get killed. Because I've never served, it's in the army, but anyone who is watching this, it's who has served time, it's in the military. You view it's your soldiers, it's as your brothers because exactly. You're in war. John witnessed his brother get killed. And this is a very similar situation to anyone who has seen the Punisher series on Netflix with it's with Frank Castle and with it's Russo. They have they serve together and they consider it's themselves as brothers. It's anyone who has seen the show knows it's of the stuff I'm talking about. So it's a very similar dynamic.
Exactly. Like again, yeah, we get that shot at the end, but and also props to the acting with Wyatt Russell. I'm trying to rewind a little bit, where like he literally looks like a crazy person, especially like this shot right here. Look at that face, man. Nuts. The eyes, dude.
Well, like at this point, like the super serum like makes any of your emotions like amplified to 10. So I'd imagine at this point he is pretty like he'd be clinically insane at this point probably. Something that I thought they were building up to at that point, I thought they were just gonna get rid of the shield, honestly. Like the way that they were talking about the legacy of the shield and like that scene where the blood was on the shield, I thought that was like an irredeemable image for like the Captain America concept. Like they touched on that more in the further episodes and kind of like changed my like view of that. But like at that point I was like, I didn't know how they were going to like develop that any further. I thought Sam was going to try and like make his own like title or like image like and not like touch on that. But
yeah, for sure. But so that's basically like that. Anything anyone else wants to say about before we move on to episode 5? It's a good episode. I thought it was great. This episode.
Yeah. Big shout out to Wyatt Russell. He takes after his father in playing a crazy villain.
For sure.
And for anyone who doesn't know, his father's is the Kurt Russell who played Ego in Guardians 2.
Yeah, for sure. Declan, you want to have any other thoughts on before we move on to episode 5?
I think we touched on all of them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, yeah. So to move on, episode 5 titled "Truth." So essentially, this episode just starts off with what we expected to happen right after the execution. Bucky and Sam confront John Walker in that warehouse and have an amazing fight. And and the thing is, I think it's important about this scene just to start off is that he's literally trying to convince himself that he did the right thing, and that we get those flashback shots that like Lamar's talking about how he always makes the right decisions. So yeah, does anyone want to talk about this scene?
John Walker's elbow is dust. Like,
no,
it is dust.
Yes, it is. I will definitely agree with that for sure. Yeah, that fight was it. The fact that it took Bucky and Sam to fight John Walker was crazy, which I honestly expected to happen, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy to think too. Sam was the only normal guy in that fight, and he came out alive. So
exactly.
But like I like too. Of how it's all three members were exhausted by the end of that fight, because it's something you see. It's in a lot of superhero movies nowadays, and I'm not trying to sound like an old timer, but usually it's after a fight. It's the winner walks it off. This fight did a great job of having to illustrate how desperate John is to survive, and showing how Sam and Bucky think they're doing the right thing by having to extinguish him of his duties. And the final shot, it's of them all like on the ground, exhausted. I thought again, great job of showing how desperate they all were equally.
Exactly. Yeah, man, this fight was nuts. Especially like that scene. I think will come up soon in the scene, but like when John Walker literally takes off is on top of Sam, and he literally just like takes his helmet off and looks at him like crazy and is like, "I am Captain America," and rips them off. Essentially, basically like that scene kind of like basically showed that like the idea how like it's basically like Falcon's worst nightmare, basically like the fact that they had this man be Captain America, not him. Therefore, like everything went awry, and that was his choice to give up the shield and realize that was a mistake. And even at the end, yeah, we see him break his arm right here. It's nuts. And my favorite part of this scene actually the end where Bucky right here, he grabs the shield and then throws it to Sam, be like, "Here you go, you can't escape this now." So yeah, I thought this confrontation was needed,
Great
yeah,
opening.
man.
Great opening.
Very great opening scene. But yeah,
or is Bucky like severely nerfed as a super soldier? Like, it seems like he's always getting his like ass handed to him from all the other super powered individuals in this show.
I mean,
and he has the benefit of having a metal arm as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree. I mean, I can see that for sure. But yeah, so after they get the shield, they regroup, and Bucky, they're discussing a game plan. Bucky decides to track down Zemo, while Sam decides, along with the advice from Torres, decides to just stay quiet. When anything pops up, we'll be ready. And we get that really cool setup of Torres asking Sam what he wants to do with the wings, and he says you keep them. Which, I mean, obviously, if we know that Joaquin Torres will be the Falcon, because he's the Falcon, the second Falcon in the comics, which I thought was really cool. But one of the most important things about this episode after that is now it's the hearing of John Walker. And obviously when we see that scene, the media is the press is there, the civilians that saw what he did are there, giving him harsh treatment, which obviously he deserves. But yeah, man, I mean, so this hearing that happened, so it was the main senator. I forget what his name is, but he's been the entire senator throughout this entire show, as well as some of the military and some of the GRC are basically like at this hearing, giving John Walker a dishonorable, an other than dishonorable discharge, where essentially he will
other than honorable.
Other than honorable, yeah. Got it. Sorry, so, yeah.
I think that might be a dishonorable discharge.
Yeah,
actually.
like right, like it feels like that would be a dishonorable discharge.
So I think he lost his medals, right? Did he?
Yeah, I have it in my notes. So he was stripped of his title. So he was stripped of his title, but he was able to keep the medals, but the medals mean nothing at this point because they stripped him of his title. And then and his authority as Captain America. And then he was forced to retire with no rank, with no pension, and or with no pension, and with no like pension or benefits throughout the course of his retirement. So, yeah, what are your yeah, basically, and he essentially freaked out, and this was one of the best parts of the scene where like he basically was like, like I understand this, and the fact that like you made me, like the government built me, I did everything you ever asked, and I did it well, and this is what you do to me. Like I thought it was really a powerful scene. It kind of reminded me of like the commentary of how the U.S. government treats not just active soldiers but just veterans in general. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Felt really bad for his wife. Like,
yeah,
she did nothing, and now she like is losing a major part of their income.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Alec?
I think you guys hit it on the head. It showed John, he dedicated his life. He went to West Point, I think is what they said in episode 2, right? It's graduated from West Point, which is a prestigious military. Like I have a friend who goes there actually.
Oh wow, okay.
It's not easy. And John, he dedicated his time to his life to it, and it's like you said, Declan. That is what makes John a tragic villain. Is that he was shaped to be this poster boy, and to have this one mistake of his just take everything away. It's his life's work away.
Mm-hmm.
Except also too, it's not to jump ahead, but that also shows when he's talking to Lamar's family, is that the guilt.
Exactly.
I mean, he wasn't guilty enough to tell the truth to Lamar's family, though.
Nope.
He did give a little bit of a lie right there.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, I think losing the mantle, losing the title, definitely a good choice. But the whole like, I don't know. I think they did him dirty, taking away like all of his livelihood and like benefits and pensions and stuff.
Exactly. Which I said like is great commentary on like how the government treats active soldiers and veterans. Because some veterans literally like they get shit on, like with no help from the government after they're after they're done with active service. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. So,
which is, I guess, similar to what happened to Isaiah, or is that different?
I mean, basically,
Isaiah didn't do anything bad though. Like that sort of thing. Like
that's more so like how the government treats black soldiers, like just soldiers, like the soldiers of color. But so it's there are some parallels when it comes to some parallels with it, but like obviously like because of race, John Walker still gets a pass. Well, Isaiah inevitably doesn't, and gets 30 years and experimentation. But yeah, so after that happens, we get that introduction to a new Marvel character that is going to be changing the playing field. Which what was her name? That they said Contessa.
We hope
Contessa Valentina Allegra Devontaine, right? Yeah, right. But just call her Val, but not to her face. Which we all know, if we read comics, is Madam Hydra. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that scene?
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know that until I watched a review of this episode.
From a meta standpoint, you knew it was big news when they pan up to see Julia.
Julia Louise Dreyfus.
Dreyfus of Seinfeld fame. So when you see an actor of that caliber come into a show like this, you're probably thinking they're probably coming back at some point.
For sure.
I was thinking, hey, that's Mysterio.
Yeah, that's not good at all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about what we think with her in theories later on in the episode, later towards the end. But yeah, that was a really interesting way. I was like, wow, that's the chick from Seinfeld. Yeah, she's big, and she's gonna have a big role. But yeah, so after that, we get that scene where Bucky confronts Zemo at the Sokovia Memorial, which I thought was really cool. And it's basically like Bucky proving himself that he's not the Winter Soldier anymore because he doesn't kill Zemo. The gun he actually holds the bullets and drops them, which I thought was an amazing shot.
I want to say that would have been such a twist and amazing shot if it wasn't in the trailer already.
Yeah, exactly.
It's eye candy. No, but that scene was made for eye candy for the trailer. It's like, oh, slow-mo, Zack Snyder, except Marvel, so.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like it basically he just basically like, yeah, I'm not the Winter Soldier anymore, basically, and he hands them over to the Dora Milaje to send him to the raft. But yeah, any other thoughts? I thought the scene was well done, and I like how he refers to him as James at the end, proving that he's not the Winter Soldier anymore.
Yeah, and that speaks characters about that dynamic with Zemo and Bucky. Zemo, him basically saying that is saying, you've earned my respect or my admiration for I at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Zemo straight up saying, I decided I'm not going to kill you anymore.
Yeah.
Surprise.
It adds to the fact that Zemo has a new sense of purpose in life, is that he didn't try to go down fighting either, which either means he has ulterior motives, which we saw, by the end of the show, or, he's content with his position in life, I guess, Exactly.
I think it also showed him questioning or rethinking his strict worldviews, because in the start of the series it was, I need to kill all super soldiers, every last one, doesn't matter who they are. Now he's like, oh well, at least one of them can stay alive.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, sorry, continue.
No, I agree.
Yeah, so, and then obviously Io tells Bucky that, you should refrain from going to Wakanda for a while, but he still asks her for that favor, and we'll see what that favor is later on. But yeah, so this is obviously the next is my favorite part, like literally my favorite part, where Declan, I said this would happen at the end when we did the review, that we would get that discussion between that conversation with Sam and Isaiah. And Sam just wants to go to Isaiah to understand why, he couldn't be the next Captain America. And then basically Isaiah tells him, listen, they're never gonna accept a black man as Captain America, no matter how hard you think, no matter how patriotic you may seem to be, Sam. You gotta wake up. And that's when we get, the reveal of his origin and all that stuff. So yeah, so what were your thoughts on this scene, guys?
I mean, what's interesting is to remember that Sam's also a military vet, and he was also in this series exploited by the military. The U.S. government kind of pushed him, hey, donate that shield to the museum. No one's gonna use it, and then he gave them his trust, and then they exploited his trust and stole the shield and made their new Captain America. So yeah, I think it's interesting that despite that abuse, Sam kind of is I feel like he falls into the same mindset as Steve, where he wants to represent America more as the idea or the people, or what the people should strive to be, whereas John Walker was America, the government, the institution, what America currently is, what America should probably not be. And I think that dichotomy is interesting.
Exactly. Alec, do you have any thoughts on the conversation between Isaiah and Sam?
I don't have much to add to that.
All right. Well, I'll say this because I'm going off of my notes, but we get the reveal of like his origin story and the fact that like while he was in prison he had a wife. In the comic which I have on me, this comic right here, Truth Red White and Black. Her name was Dolores. They don't really say it in the show, but she was writing to him while he was in prison because he went to prison for 30 years. And it is revealed why he went was again they were given and they mentioned the stuff like Tuskegee and all other stuff like the Red Tails. That was really cool, and how when they fought with their country they were also treated with disrespect as well. And the fact that him and his unit were given unstable versions of the serum, various versions, and were told it was tetanus. So again, it's that play on the syphilis experiments, but that nod. And some of them died off, but he was the only inevitably he was the only one left that survived. And there was one point where his platoon was across enemy lines and needed to be rescued, but the government decided listen, we're probably going to blow this place to hell instead. So then that's when he decided to be a hero and save his unit, which he did. And that that basically caused the government to put him in jail for 30 years. So yeah, it's rough. And they said that his wife died in thought he died in prison, that he was never coming out. And a nurse took pity on him and gave him his letters, declared him dead, and had him escape. So Mr. Brooks. But yeah, that was his origin. And he ends the conversation with a quote which I had to write down because I thought it was so important when it comes to how Sam's going to be moving forward. Is never let a black man be Captain America, and no respecting black man would ever want to be Captain America. Yeah. So what your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm equipped to really fully interpret that scene actually.
For sure. For sure. I mean, I would say that even though Sam is a very optimistic person, he needed Isaiah to have him, basically have him understand the real reality of how America works and how America would be hesitant to accept a black Captain America if someone would rise to the occasion. Yeah, it was just, and just hearing Isaiah's story, honestly, it was heartbreaking. Even though it's a fictional character, but in reality, I could imagine that happening in real life. Because after it was when the Korean War happened, what was it? Was it the
50s?
50s, right? Yeah. So in that landscape back then, I could imagine that happening 100%. So I mean, and it really impacted me, that scene for sure. And that was my favorite part because I love Isaiah in every scene I see him in, especially the actor Carl Lumbly, who was phenomenal at
every scene with Isaiah. Just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
the theme was just
and he's really good at portraying. You can tell with his performance that you can feel the pain there, you can feel the frustration there. It's just phenomenal.
He definitely has an effect in Sam's speech. It's in the finale. So
yeah. For sure, but that scene basically causes Sam to not act at all, to not be Captain America, and that's when we get the scene where he's back home, fixing up the boat along with it was him, his family, and the Louisiana community, helping him out, which I thought was a great scene. But then that him and Bucky having that conversation of how Bucky later on when they're training, they're throwing the shield along, how he didn't understand why the weight of a black man being Captain America, and apologizes to Sam about pressuring him to do so when he didn't think of that aspect. He's a white man from the 40s. Of course he's not going to think that way.
Yeah.
So yeah. That montage with the community I thought was great. Because again, when it comes to black culture, especially in the South, community is a really, really big, important aspect of the culture. So I love that a lot. Especially Bucky flirting with Sarah. That was hilarious.
Yeah. It's all the scenes. It's in the South. It's with Sam's family. Those are probably, it's among my favorite scenes in the show, because something that the show does is that it shows characters from the movies a greater extension of themselves. And Sam is someone who we didn't really get to know that much in the movies, and the show helps with that a lot, and it makes Sam a more popular character, very similar to what they did with WandaVision, with how Wanda and Vision are now more popular characters than how they were back with the movies. And Sam, and having Sam scenes, it's with showing that slice of life. It's in a show like this. It's in the MCU. It's very cathartic, because we always deal with high stakes events. It's even in the Spider-Man movies. It's even Homecoming. Yes, it was small stakes, and so was Ant-Man, but we never really saw the characters at home. And so showing Sam at home, which but by extension is Anthony Mackie, since he's from Louisiana, showing, you know, him, it's with the community, it's in the boat building montage, it's the fixing montage. I love those scenes. I do. It shows. It kind of showed that episode 5 is kind of a breather episode a little bit. It's and a little bit of a slice of life episode as well, while setting up the finale.
Exactly.
So I enjoyed that part a lot.
And especially like that scene before we get that conversation, which we'll touch upon a little bit in a bit, but the scene where when Isaiah says that, like, you know, no black man would ever want to be Captain America, but then we get that scene where AJ and I forget his other nephew's name start playing with the shield, inherently as being innocent of children, because, you know, and that I almost cried. I almost cried when I saw that, because I'm just like because in there, and even though Isaiah didn't go through what he went through and be like, yeah, no black man want to Captain America, that's never not true, you know. That like some black people will want to rise to the occasion because they see the importance of being a symbol like Captain America, you know. But yeah, so that scene where we see, you know, Bucky and Sam toss the shield up, there's two things that are mentioned that I have in my notes here. One, again, we touched them on, like the realizing the weight of the black.
I thought it was funny that Sam was worse at tossing the shield after that scene.
Okay. You know how I justified it a little bit? He was a little closer to the tree. They were a little closer to the tree.
I think it was just an editing error, actually.
I know. I thought he was a little closer to the tree, so that's why you know, that's why it's a little easier to catch it. But then, because if you see in the training sequence, he's a lot farther. He's doing like trying to hit farther targets. So that you know. But yeah. So there's two things with that scene. So like again, the weight of being a black man as Captain America, which we already talked about, but also the fact that Bucky needs to give other people closure to inevitably give himself closure, and that like apparently being selfish isn't what's solving the problem. So what are your thoughts on that?
I just love seeing these two characters interact. These are two characters that their primary purpose was to enrich Steve Rogers, right, as character development for Captain America. So I really do love these extra bits where they're just like character growth and just chilling out, because we get to see who Sam Wilson is. Like I didn't know who Sam Wilson, the movie character, was until this series. I knew that he liked to run. I knew that he had some cool wings. I knew that he was like had some quips every once in a while, but I didn't know like his character. I didn't know his motivations. I didn't know any of that. So I was very happy to see them fully fleshed out and developed in these like tiny scenes. In the meantime, likewise, the only thing I knew about Bucky was that he was brainwashed. Now he's like grumpy.
Yeah.
So it was nice seeing those like a bit more fleshed out.
Except also to add to that, Declan, I saw an interview on YouTube with, I believe it was BBC but radio, and it showed the first interview. It's after the first episode came out. It's the guy who was interviewing. It's Anthony Mackie asked him, what was your favorite thing about it's about your character. And he said, just the fact that he's a normal guy, like he met Captain America because he went on a jog one day, and this spiraled him to take this path in life to being Captain America's right-hand man.
And
Yes.
successor, you know?
His successor. And just like, imagine what if Sam did not take that jog in downtown Washington, D.C. that day. What if season 2?
Hydra would have won.
Yeah. But yeah, Hydra would have won, yeah. But no, Declan, about that, showing these two characters, showing how they can help each other. Both Sam and Bucky, I think that they bring out things that they weren't expecting out of each other. I think they complete each other, for lack of a better term, and that helps because of the chemistry with Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie. Like, these two have such great chemistry. They're opposite in so many ways, but their humor just matches. It matches a lot, and it shows with Sam and Bucky. Especially the conversation. It's of them saying, like, I think we are just two people who happen to know the same guy, or something like that. I enjoyed that. That was fun.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so then that scene will inevitably, like, that conversation will inevitably have, like, Bucky talk to Nakajima, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, man, but like after that happens, I mean, we get my other favorite part of the episode is the awesome training montage that Sam does to be Captain America. And I love it so fucking much.
I like that a lot too. I like it.
I'll play it here just in the background. I want to share the audio because, like, I love the Louisiana hero theme so much, and I thought it fit so well, Yeah, but yeah, so then we get this awesome scene. So what are y'all thoughts on this scene real quick?
One, it's strange to see Sam flip like this.
I love how he's doing the more, I mean, even Steve did it too, but like he's doing a more acrobatic approach with how he's throwing and catching the shield, which I think is so cool, So yeah.
The only thing it's missing is him running up a set of stairs in like sweatpants and a sweatshirt that with sleeves cut off while the Rocky Balboa song is playing in the background.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, but yeah, this scene is literally like fantastic. I love this scene a lot, and the theme, man, the theme is so good. But yeah, so yeah, while this plays a little bit, like, so after that, Sharon makes a call on someone on the phone talking about a deal they're trying to have, and then I was really, if you could hear from the phone, it was speaking French, and it's revealed that that Batroc meets up with the Flag Smashers to discuss their plan. So then that happens up, and then they plan to attack the GRC before they make they have like what they call the Patch Act plan in effect, which is essentially they're moving all of the quote unquote refugees, displaced refugees, to their respecting countries so that they can just deal with them, instead of having them at these settlement camps. And then the episode ends with the attack taking place. How literally the Flag Smashers have followers in high up government which is crazy, just to prove how impactful this mission means to so many people. And then Sam it opens up the case and is shocked. And that's how it ended, which we were all upset about. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on the ending of this episode?
Man, I knew it was coming too. As soon as they had three separate scenes, probably like 5 minutes between each other, just like lingering on Sam looking at that case. I was like, we're not going to see what's in that case. But that didn't make it any less painful when he opened it up and it showed his reaction, and then it just stopped. And we had to wait an entire 7 days to see what was in there. It was so annoying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I mean, anyone else have any other thoughts before we move on to this episode?
The scene in the mid credits.
Oh wait, hold on. I got it. I have it up. I forgot. I really forgot about it. Yeah, but it is. We got that our first post credit scene, which I don't think we didn't. I thought we were gonna get one just at the last episode, but we get that post credit scene, man, where we see, you know, John Walker again with his ego and his hubris decides to make his own janky version of the Shield.
It's with his medals too on it, right?
Yeah, putting his Medal of Honor, which will be revealed is in the inside the Shield, not on the outside. I thought it was gonna be on the outside, and I wanted to be as janky as possible, But yeah, so what were your thoughts on this post credit scene, guys? Before we move on.
Where did he learn to weld like that? Because it wasn't a horrible welding job, it looked decent before it got all lumpy and stuff from him using it in combat.
Exactly. I thought it was going to look janky, man. Sorry, Alec, I cut you off.
No, it's just, it's what happens in the Army stays in the Army. So
yeah, fair enough. That's all. That's the only explanation we need. But yeah, man, we'll see what it looks like. Well, I was impressed on the turnout, But yeah, it was that post credit scene was a post credit scene. But yeah, so any other thoughts before we move on to the last episode? All right, so yeah, episode 6, titled obviously with this Flag Smasher motto, one world, one people. So yeah, that episode basically kicks off with the Flag Smashers essentially enacting their plan. Basically attacking the GRCC, trying to take. Basically, the plan was to basically take hostages so that they wouldn't be able to enact the Patch Act. And then we get to see Bucky show up, and then it is revealed that Sharon Carter somehow got into the United States, because remember that which is a nod to the whole disguise tech that that Black Widow used in Winter Soldier. So that happened, and then we get the money shot, basically the money shot that we get of Falcon in his brand new suit as Captain America. So yeah, what were your thoughts on this opening shot? That was incredible. I was like, this is dope.
So good. I have zero complaints with that suit. It is 100% comic accurate. I was amazed the first time I saw it. Mm-hmm. Brave move to make the majority of it very shiny white. Especially with the amount of upkeep that suit must take to just make sure it stays that bright white color.
Exactly.
But I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah. For me right now, because I'm even before this show was coming out, around the show was coming out, I decided to I have the first volume of Sam Wilson Captain America, and I wanted to read some. I started to read some. I haven't finished it yet, but I was starting to read some of it. And yeah, that suit I thought was a really cool design for Falcon. It took aspects of what his previous costumes were and some of what Steve's costumes were and combined it together. The one thing I didn't like about the suit was the wings, and not how the wings were just straight up red, because I wanted a more Captain America-y type aesthetic with the wings. But my favorite part about now seeing the suit basically just taken from the page in live action is the fact that the wings aren't straight up; they're straight just silver and blue. And when it's him flying around, they look incredible. And it's the blue jetpack definitely helps, and the fact that the shield has a magnetic lash to it, so he can launch the shield whenever he wants to, even while he's flying. I think it's so sick. The only thing I have a slight problem with, the little nitpick, sometimes it's because of Anthony Mackie's haircut, because he has straight buzz cut. It makes his head look a little with the cowl a little bit a little off and a little tiny. But because Sam Wilson in that costume, what really worked because he had more of a haircut like mine, so it evened out the cowl for me. But other than that, I think the suit's incredible, especially if you look in the comics, the symbol is a lot more intricate in where the line patterns are, and has a circle around the star that has these line accents on it. But here it's a more homage to his Steve suit in the Winter Soldier, where it's just the star and then the two accents meeting. But
I think they did that for merchandising reasons, I've seen a lot of t-shirts and mugs and hats and anything else Marvel could produce with the star and the two stripes coming out of it on both sides. I've seen that symbol a lot. So I think they might have simplified it just so that they can make it its own distinct because the star with the circle is kind of like Steve Rogers' Captain America. So this is a way for them to make their own distinct, like Sam Wilson's Captain America symbol. So they had to like simplify it a little bit so they could be like, hey, look, buy this T-shirt now. Yeah, you might have a Steve Rogers one, but now you need a Sam Wilson's Captain America one.
Exactly. So Alec, you have any thoughts on the costume before we move on?
I mean, Declan, it's like you said, they did a great job of establishing Steve Rogers' Captain America and Sam's Captain America. Except also Mikey too. That screen cap you had, it seemed like concept art.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. It is very distinguishable. Props to Wakanda for having a colorful American aesthetic.
Yo, Wakanda has been making some nice threads, yo. They always have been.
Why is it that only Wakanda and like 16-year-old teenagers from the Queens could make actual superhero suits that aren't like tactical, like padded up, like all like Sam Wilson and Spider-Man and Black Panther are probably the only actual like superhero suits. Everyone else has like army suits where it's all like padded up and like has like the hexes on them and all of that stuff. Like, exactly. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Captain America and
also, this is so good. I literally like when I saw this, I was like, holy fucking shit, let's go! Like, oh man. But I
love that it's not like, oh, no problem. I just love that like it's like the material of it. It seems like Marvel is getting more prone to accepting like, hey, we can make superhero suits work and not have them be like dull, two color, like toned down tactical suits. We can make them actual superhero suits and people will love them. And like I think this kind of shows that, hey, yeah, just like give us the comic suits. Don't give us Shang-Chi's current outfit.
Got it.
Fun thing about the scene is that, you know, it had another callback to the fate of Steve Rogers. And they go, wait, like, who are you? And he goes, Captain America. And then the one guy goes, I thought he was on the moon.
He was on the moon.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that entry shot was fantastic. And then we also got one of my favorite things I also wanted was Sam versus Batroc again. And I loved it. I love Batroc. Listen, even though it's a smoke, I love Batroc and Lee every time he's on screen. Because I think because again, it's Sam just as a dude versus another guy who's just a dude. So yeah, that scene I thought was great. With him and Batroc. But then we get again, and he just says, you know, au revoir, jumps out the window, and we see him throw the shield and catching it in midair, which I was so sick. And then we get that really cool helicopter rescue that happens. So yeah, any thoughts on that helicopter rescue that he pulled off?
I love the landing when he made that dome with the wings.
Oh, dude, man.
The wings are vibranium now too. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I don't know why, but the way that he operated the wings in some ways, it's very it's kind of like the wings have a mind of their own, kind of like Strange's cape, a little bit. I don't know. I thought that how they moved was kind of.
I kind of cool. Interpret it more as like Doc Ock's extra arms in his back.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. It's one way to look at it too. But the helicopter scene was it was very well executed. I like that a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
I think my two favorite scenes were the scenes involving Sam chasing down a helicopter. The beginning of this series where he's like doing his own thing with the U.S. military and like beating up some like guys trying to like go from helicopter to helicopter was still like one of my favorite scenes. And like this is probably also my favorite scene where like he's just like doing his thing in the air. They definitely like showed how he shines in like aerial mobile combat.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like that scene, man, I thought was so sick. I love it. Just like and plus like the wings are just the way they because they're vibranium wings, they just look incredible. So, like I thought it was so sick. But yeah, after that again, like you see Bucky fight the Flag Smashers and he like attempting to like, they try to like kill all like the hostages, sorry, as a distraction, and I thought it was really cool. And then that's when John Walker shows up with his janky shield, uh, which turned out pretty well. I'm not gonna lie. Like so and then that basically like starts this big fight between Bucky, the Flag Smashers, John Walker, and Carly. So what were your thoughts on that big fight that went down?
With sorry, Declan, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. You go.
Well, okay, so with the fight scene, are we talking about like it up to John saving the truck full of people? Like how far are we?
No, I'm talking. We'll talk about let's just talk about the scene between John Walker fighting Carly. How about that?
Okay. That was passion filled because he knows at that point he's facing his best friend's killer.
Exactly.
And Carly at this point, and also it's further shown with when she says "one world, one people," and her very people hesitate.
Oh yeah, I love that.
That shows how far she's gone. And here, and she like it's not to jump ahead, but she gets into the same mindset when it's her last fight with Sam, saying "stay down," everything like that. Carly is in a very justified mind of like, I'm doing what I have to, and I'm sorry. Like he's just a small peg in my grand plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
okay. And the moment this man say right here, where he's like, where she's like, "Oh, like he didn't matter to my cause. You didn't think Lamar's life mattered." Okay, I fucking
right. Yeah.
Stood up, laughed, and it was like, "Oh shit!" Like, okay, I get it. Like, I see what Marv was trying to do.
Man, like I was just like super hyped to see, I guess, the US agent on screen for the first time, because like at this point he was practically the US agent.
Yeah.
Also just seeing him like as soon as Carly says no, him just like starting to walk, like he punches two guys, still starts walking. Like Carly grabs him, he like headbutts. Like I thought it was cool to see like John Walker in a position where you could kind of root for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. And then after that scene happens, they're ending up. I like the scene where essentially like the hostage are about to fall over into that construction yard, and then John makes the decision. As again, when Lamar says John always makes the right decision, this is a callback to that, where he decides to, instead of going after Carly, he tries to save the hostage, and he inevitably drops his hubris in form of his janky shield down. And I love that symbolism. And I thought it was fantastic. That scene there. But yeah, and I love how like in the scene his shield just gets dented immensely because it's not the shield, it's not vibranium. Yeah, and we get that cool fight. But yeah, like that scene where like he literally drops his hubris and actually makes a good, like, noble decision. I thought was so good,
I've seen a lot of mixed reactions on the internet of saying, "Oh, like is John redeemed?" And that's a topic for later. But like, but John, I think the show does a great way of having the audience shift their perspective on John as a character. John is a very flawed human being, but when it came down to the nitty and gritty of it, John put down his bearings and tried to save those people. And that goes in tandem with what you said, with Lamar saying that John is a good man. who makes the right decisions. It's in the heat of battle.
Mm-hmm.
John is not an evil person. He's not an evil person. Deep down, he's a good soldier. Is he a good? But he's a flawed man.
Exactly.
But John did a noble thing, and that has redeemed him in the eyes of many.
I think that scene to me was sort of like, I'd say John was kind of like evil villain before that scene, just because of like his like extrajudicial murder, all of that stuff. I think that at that time we saw two extremes through Carly and John. Then we saw that it was sort of showing that like it's never too late to kind of start trying to be a better person. I don't think that scene was meant to like redeem John. I think it was meant to show that like John saw how far he was going in a bad direction and decided to, instead of doubling down like Carly does, he decided to stop and like face the decisions he made, and try and reconcile by doing other things like saving the car full of people.
Exactly.
So like I don't think it was meant to redeem him. I think it was meant to show that he is open towards working on himself, if that makes sense.
Exactly. It set him on a path that could be potential redemption, not full on redemption, you know?
Right.
But yeah, just sort of move things along. So then again, we get that crazy scene at the end where we get, you know, Sam as Captain America saving the hostages, which is one of my favorite like scenes in the episode, you know? Like again, we see John Walker and like he fails, and then Sam comes in out of nowhere with his amazing wings and those two other red wings and pushes. It's just so good. It's so cool. And then we get, even though like I don't really like this line that much, but like the corny line where like he's like, "Oh my God, it's Black Falcon." He's like, "Oh no, that's Captain America." Cheese, like the cheese is real. But yeah, but like here's the thing. Like the most important scene after that, in my opinion, is, well, even though we kind of saw it coming, and I know Declan definitely saw it coming. We talked about before that, like it's revealed that Sharon is the power broker when she confronts Batroc and Carly, and then it inevitably causes her to kill Batroc, which I still don't think he's dead because I want him to be in the Thunderbolts, but also her getting injured by Carly. So what were your thoughts on that reveal? Guys.
Like, so everyone just kind of sucked in that shoot off scenario. Like they were all just horrible people. Batroc, Carly, and Carter, they were all just like bad. So like I didn't really care who got shot. I did like when Carly like finally was able to get sort of a redemption, like when in Marvel, typically, like they can't really redeem characters unless they die or like literally die. Like Loki was redeemed when he died in Thor: Dark World. Like I don't know. I forget another example, but yeah, like so. I think that's how they kind of like reconcile with Carly, by having her like Sam like picks her up, like brings her back to the ambulance, starts his speech, and like that's how they kind of use her as like a like precautionary, like this didn't have to happen, sort of tale, you know.
Exactly. Alec, you wanna say something about that reveal in that scene?
Well, Sharon, at the end of the day, is the catalyst for everything happening, because she said in that very scene that she took Carly in on Madripoor, and Carly rebelled by having to focus on her cause and taking the super soldier serum and going rogue. So, and Sharon has changed since we last saw her in Civil War. That much can be said.
Or has she? What if she was always the power broker?
She's that's a topic for another time. What if season 2? All right, but Sharon's changed a lot. She's turned cynical after what happened to her with the government and the 5-year population decrease. But let's just call it that. She's power driven now, and she said of how she took Carly in and gave her purpose. I know it's as her enforcer on the Madripoor. I'm pretty sure enforcers on Madripoor, and then Carly went after her own cause and stole the serum. Sharon killed Bartok to cover up her own tracks, and she shot Carly under. She shot her because, 1, to save her own skin, and 2, the self-defense excuse of, it's under self-defense because Carly's trying to kill. But Sharon, it definitely changes her character. I'm excited to see the hero turn into a villain dynamic. Has the MCU changed a hero to a villain?
Mysterio.
Mysterio was like, yeah, that's a good example.
No, like real.
Well, yeah, I'm saying Sharon was always the power broker. That's my theory right now.
It definitely turns the status quo on its head, in that it's a lot's happened in 5 years.
I mean, I guess Loki went from villain to hero to villain to hero.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that scene I thought was really. I mean, the reveal obviously was expected, but again, why I love Sam so much. He doesn't want to give up on somebody that, like, he thinks that Carly, even though she's done a lot of bad, still has potential for good, and inevitably denies that fact when she actually generally, like, looks like she's about to kill him. And then, obviously I don't think it would do anything because I would assume it was vibranium. But but like, and then that would lead on to his amazing speech. But that scene was good. I refuse to accept that Batroc is dead, though. I'm sorry, he's not dead. He's sleeping. But
if Carly is officially dead and she's a super soldier, I think Batroc might be a little bit dead.
No, listen, you never know. So again, now it leads to the important part of the episode where Sam Wilson gives his own speech in front of the senators and inevitably the whole world, because again, the media was watching. And in my notes there, I was able to decipher 3 points that Sam makes while talking about his speech that he makes. All right, so the number one thing is that, like, now that, after the blip, the entire world has a common goal now. That is what's in that. They have a common goal with the displaced refugees and all that stuff. 2, that him being Captain America is gonna give him praise from people as well as hate from people, because the black man as Captain America has a ton of weight in our socio-political climate. And then the third point is that the government keeps making easy decisions to solve problems with their power when they could literally have the power to actually make a substantial difference. And, they just won't do it for some reason because the people making the decisions don't understand what these people are going through. So yeah, I want to open the floor and talk about that Sam speech. If anyone has any thoughts, again, the poli-sci major should have a ton. But
man, I didn't know Black Widow was in this series.
Yeah, it's not. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought the speech was good. I don't know enough about what happened with the blip and what they were proposing to really know what was going on there.
I mean, I do. I mean,
okay.
I should.
Yeah.
So Mikey, correct me if I'm wrong, but so Carly's whole motivation was it's open borders. That's what the Flag Smashers were. Open borders.
Yeah.
Anti-patriotism. So back in the blip, it's in this 5-year gap. It's the government all came together to to have to accommodate for people. It's the whole like entire world populations came together to have to accommodate for those people. But then when everyone came back simultaneously, that's when the world went back to normal, in that they focused on their people, having to focus on the people who came back and not the people who went through those hardships during those 5 years. Because Carly survived the blip. She lived through those 5 years. She's seen the world at its worst. And he's feeling negated. Her people are feeling negated, that they have been pushed aside by this new council, by having to focus on the people who came back, having to get their homes back, focusing, it's on the new ones instead of the people who have been there. That's why Carly's doing what she's doing, and that's why Sam is saying that we can be better than this.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the most interesting things about, like, especially in episode 4, when he was talking with Carly about when she, like, he was trying to, like, calm her down a bit, was the fact that, like, listen, when the blip happened, like, the homeless suddenly had homes, to live in, like, and then now next thing you know, people come back and now they were essentially kicked out and put on the streets, which is, again, tough. And the fact that, like, the GRC tried, again, on paper, the GRC should be a noble, good organization, but at the end of the day, they're inevitably making things worse. When, because with the settlements, and I think someone else in that episode, I think that teacher that was in that building, like, that Sam was talking to, was saying that, like, listen, the GRC settlement said they were gonna give the displaced people supplies and food, and then but then next thing you know, 6 months later, they weren't given anything, like teachers, none of that stuff. So this entire thing is kind of a commentary on, like, for me, I don't know if anyone has any other thoughts on, like, what this was referring to, but for me, it was kind of like the situation at, like, the U.S.-Mexican border, where people are getting ripped apart, families being ripped apart, and the conditions are awful. But on paper, they're saying that, like, yeah, like, we're working on getting either these people who need help, who need refuge in our respected country, but then they'll be in that settlement camp for years, just trying to get a case from a immigration lawyer. That's what I was connecting this to, or like the refugee incident with, like, stuff with, like, Libya and all that other stuff in, like, the Middle East. So again, like, the Flag Smasher mission is inevitable in that case, like in the Marvel universe, was inevitable, because the government wasn't, like, the world governments were not treating these people like, we're horribly, like, not disorganized and treating these people like nuisances than people. So so, like, that's what I took from Sam's speech, and the fact that, like, like, the government needs to do better. Like, they have to do better. They have the power to. They have especially, like, Sam here. He mentioned that, like, you guys have access to banks and, like, courts and governments, and you guys just take the easy way out. Like,
especially like him saying stuff like, it's something about, like, having to feed a certain amount of people. It's with just an email or something like that.
Yeah. They can literally make a phone call and then make an impactful change, but they decided to take shortcuts instead, And I thought it's important that, like Sam mentioned, my favorite thing that he said, that, like, besides the whole the fact that, like, one of my favorite things he said in the speech was that, people will love him, people will hate him, which is a meta thing, because that's gonna happen, him as Captain America going forward in the Marvel Universe, from fans. Some people will love him, but there will be, those racist people with racist ideals who will not like him as Captain America. But at the same time, the fact that, like, I'm, like, losing my train of thought. I lost what I was gonna say. God dang it! I thought this was gonna flow so well, but like, it's just, they just need to do better. Like, they just need to do better, and the fact that, like, if you don't step up now, another Carly's going to inevitably happen, and 2.0 is going to be worse. So man, I thought this speech was phenomenal. Phenomenal. But yeah, any other thoughts before moving forward with the episode?
Yeah, I thought the episode was very spot on with how political radicalism kind of like develops, like usually as like economic factors and like generally socioeconomic factors start to worsen, and like bloated governments tend not to do anything to address those factors. More and more people become disenfranchised and start to through that disenfranchisement not like trust the system or the government, and then like that's how like revolutions happen, and like revolutionaries like Carly like began to sprout. I thought like it did a good job of showing like how like both the incompetence of the system itself through like the GRC, but also like both like the how like easy it is once you get into that radicalism where like the ends justify the means, how easy it is for you to lose your morals and stuff, like how Carly like killed people to try and accomplish her goal, and like how those two things are kind of both fueling one another, like fueling the fear on both sides, fueling the animosity on both sides, stuff like that.
For sure. But yeah, just to end on that note, so like after that, the remaining soldiers are detained, and then the van that they're in explodes, and it's revealed that the butler did it, and Zemo killed them in prison. I think was so great. I literally clapped, and it was just like, yes, you know.
So his butler's his name was is Osnek, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Osnek. I knew he was going to come back in eventually. He's too cool to not just do anything. Well, that scene showed that that scene established that the Flag Smasher cause is still present. Not going to die out with just those certain amount of people. It still lives on, because of the person who put them in said it's from World War I people. So that tells the audience it's not dead. It's still alive in some capacity. And that makes you think like, oh, that they're going to escape eventually. But then car bomb, Zemo, it pays, damn, it's great to be a Baron, so. But Zemo doing it from the raft gave me Walter White vibes. Gave me some Breaking Bad vibes. If anyone has seen the show, it's what I'm talking about. But yeah, Zemo won, just like he did in Civil War. So it should be interesting to see. Like I always said back in 2016, he didn't die. He's going to be used again in some capacity, and he was used in the show to an effective degree. And they let him live again. What do they have with Zemo aside from making a potential Thunderbolts movie? But
that's it. Thunderbolts. That's the only possibility. Thunderbolts is coming, 100% confirmed. Black Widow, Taskmaster, Abomination, Red Hulk, everybody, every villain that is still alive is going to be in Thunderbolts. That is the absolute conclusion to Zemo being left alive.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I was gonna wait for Thunderbolts.
And for anyone that mentions Dark Avengers, that is never happening. Only Thunderbolts. Dark Avengers is not happening.
Well, yeah. So, after that, actually, we'll skip over the Contessa thing for theories, okay? But we'll skip over that for now. But yeah, Bucky then talks to Nakajima and then reveals to him that he killed his son. So what are your thoughts on that scene?
I wish they could have shown his immediate reaction, but some directors are like, it's a lot, it's effective to have to leave it be unsaid. So showing, to me, from someone who appreciates the art and stuff like that, showing Bucky telling him, and then his face reacting a little bit, and then having to cut to him leaving was a bit jarring for me from a critical standpoint, but I understand why. But yeah, no, it was sad. It was sad seeing Bucky lose a friend, because I think we all know what is going to result from that, you know?
Exactly.
I think it's sad, but it's also great.
Yeah.
Because Bucky actually had consequences to doing the right thing.
Right. No. Yeah.
Like he wasn't rewarded for doing the right thing. He was punished for doing the right thing. But that's the good thing about it, is the punishment itself. He did it despite that punishment, not because he thought that there wasn't going to be a punishment, not because and I think like that's like a great development in Bucky's character.
Atonement.
Yeah.
Atonement. And that was a big critical part towards the start of the series, is that Bucky has a notebook. It's Steve's notebook too. It's Steve's notebook. It's after he came out of the ice. It's of the people who he has to atone to for his time spent as the Winter Soldier. And him, it's and then cutting to him leaving a note for his shrink saying, thank you for your help and everything else. You know, it was very bittersweet. But Bucky is now a free man.
Yeah, inevitably he is. Yeah.
Well, there were some names not checked off on there.
Yeah. But
he's got a couple people to check off.
Yeah, still. But I feel like Nakajima was the most important one, you know, especially for him personally. So I feel like, yeah, just getting that one off and then just leaving. I think all the other names, all of them were crossed out. So I think he did it maybe off screen or something. I don't really want to get into that, but yeah, well, that was great. So yeah, so now to end it off, essentially, this episode was, besides obviously seeing Sam in the suit and all that stuff, my favorite scene, which we'll talk about, is Sam, Eli, and Isaiah go to the brand new portion of the exhibit, which is now the Isaiah Bradley exhibition in DC. And this, for me, I'll just to start off, like, for me, I almost cried watching the scene. I literally just again we talk about again like Isaiah's the actor Carl Lumbly performance, just again when he hugged Sam just to say thank you. Now that, like, you know, even though he's still declared dead, now he gets the recognition that he deserves after 30 years of imprisonment and experimentation for trying to be a hero. Now he gets his acknowledgement. Now everyone knows of the story of Isaiah Bradley. Touched me, and especially like this. Every time I talk about the scene, I always mention that, like, literally it's the visual significance of now seeing the past, the present, and then now potentially the future Captain America with Isaiah, Sam, and Eli. I think is brilliant, and yeah, man, I loved it. That, like, this scene touched my heart, and yeah. So what were your thoughts on this? That's basically this end scene, technically, of this episode.
I paused the episode to read the plaque. I don't know if you did.
I couldn't make it out. I couldn't make out what it said.
Oh, it's if you pause it, it's clear. It tells like the same story about, you know, how he it does mention his imprisonment, so it's interesting.
I didn't notice this until I saw the screenshot. That broken A symbol gives me a big Avengers disassembled vibe.
Really?
Yeah, doesn't that A, the way it's like splintered up, looks like the Avengers disassembled logo for the
I guess I never really noticed it.
I don't know, I just like that, like, popped into my head. Yeah, I thought the scene was just great. I really liked how, like, so much motion. Like, they really packed this cast with great actors. I think that's something that WandaVision sometimes lacked, was like people that could really make you feel immersed in the world. Like I almost started tearing up when Isaiah did. Like they feel so real, and like the injustices and like eventually the justice that Isaiah had, like the small justice he had, like felt very impactful when it did happen.
For sure. Yeah, man, this ending. I mean, even though the real ending, and also obviously about the post credit scene is also for the theory section, but yeah, this ending was like Disney hit it. Disney hit the social commentary that I wanted them to hit, and I thought it was phenomenal. And literally, like, I mean, granted, like, obviously the ending. A lot of people complain about the ending. Like, a lot of the setups that they've done was a little bit over rushed because I mean, granted, COVID was a factor on both WandaVision and for Falcon Winter Soldier. That's why those endings don't really feel that complete, especially with what they set up. But this right here, I thought was I was so satisfied, especially like the ending with like the barbecue and all that stuff. Even though like I feel like they should have had Isaiah and Eli at that barbecue. But yeah, this is like I literally this is literally the past, present, and future Cap. With Eli also as Patriot in one room together, the generational thing I thought it blows people's minds. They don't really see it. But yeah, man. This episode was phenomenal. IGN gave it a 5. I don't understand why, but I mean, I thought it was good. But yeah, any other thoughts on episode 6 before we go on to like theories and our final verdicts and stuff like that?
From the critical point, but this episode, Mikey, it's like you said, it did get a lot of flack because some people thought that some complaints I saw was that it was hyper focused on Sam. It felt like a lot was happening all in the span of one episode. And another one I thought was it was a scene too of when they got the rest. It's of the Flag Smashers that got put into the van of when both John and Bucky tricked them through like an app, and then like all the cops came. Some people thought that the banter with John and Bucky was way too conversational considering what John did, and it seemed like John didn't suffer the consequences from like it, it felt like a few people forgot what John did. And that's some had complaints about that. But like either way, I enjoyed it. I don't know what scenes were shot prior to COVID and what scenes weren't. I'm pretty sure the one scene that was filmed before COVID was when John becomes the U.S. agent. But aside from that, I don't know what scenes. I don't know how COVID affected it, but I'm sure it did in some capacity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I mean, I have nothing really to say about the episode besides that I loved it. But any other thoughts on before we move on?
The changing from Captain America and from Falcon and Winter Soldier to Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
You're damn right, Alec.
Yeah.
Captain America, the Winter Soldier, baby. I love that. That was the icing on the cake. That was the icing on the cake for me. So, yeah. All right. So, anything else before we move on to theories? All right. No, nothing else. All right. So, theories. Okay. I broke the theories up so we can organize it a little bit. So, I have the theories tab up right now. But obviously, because Declan had to fucking ramble before I got to it, the Thunderbolts. Obviously, that's gonna happen. Shout out to Matt for being wrong. But yeah. But here's the thing, though, Declan. I'll say this right now. Well, I also have another section tab for this as well. But I also think Dark Avengers could also be possible. But
here's the thing. Tony Stark owned the Avengers. He owned the Avengers. The US government cannot just like pick up the Avengers and make Dark Avengers. The only reason why they were able to do that in the comics was because Tony Stark was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and decided to have the government subsidize all of his assets, so he signed the Avengers into the government's name. it would be illegal for the Dark Avengers to be a thing. And 2, why? Just make them the Thunderbolts. We would have too many Avengers going on at that point. We'd have the Avengers, we'd have the Young Avengers. By that point, we might even have Secret Avengers. So let's just introduce some Thunderbolts.
Gotcha. Well, we can obviously agree that because here's the thing, right? Yeah, we know that Zemo's in the raft. We know that General Thunderbolt Ross, basically, I think he's in charge of the raft, right?
I'm gonna be real. I think the actor of General Ross is just way too old for Marvel to reliably have him be like a mainstay superhero. I think it's gonna be Abomination.
Because I mean, I'm saying like I feel like Thunderbolt Ross is going to be in charge. If Red Hulk will happen, that's fine. But like I think he's going to be in charge because he owns the raft. He's in charge of the raft. So
he's got something to do with it, yeah.
He'll probably be like
Amanda Waller.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Not him as Red Hulk, you know.
I have a couple things for a meta to bring up as well, if that's okay. I think Thunderbolt Ross, he's in Black Widow, younger, right? He's gonna be.
Yeah, he is in Black Widow. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And also too, I read this online. Contessa was supposed to appear in another scene as well.
Yeah, that's. I was gonna get to that. While I think Declan is wrong and that Dark Avengers could happen because there's supposed to be a separate scene where it was going to be in here, but because Black Widow got pushed to July, that Yelena Belova was gonna show up with Thunderbolt Ross, and that was gonna set up the Thunderbolts. So I'm assuming she would be on the roster if that would happen. But yeah, like the Thunderbolts could happen. I mean, Declan, me and Declan talked about our roster. Do you have a roster for the Thunderbolts?
I don't like to theorize.
Okay, gotcha. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, like, except also too, I am not like I am comic verse, but not the most comic verse. So I don't have as many choices as you guys do. So
yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, for my roster, I said I think me and Declan kind of like had a genuine like same roster. But for me, I would want, again, obviously Zemo. Zemo is going to be the head. Thunderbolt Ross being like the commanding officer, like Amanda Waller, something like that.
Zemo's the Harley Quinn.
No, he's not. No, he's like the Deadshot, I'll say.
Well, depending on who you thought was the leader of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's true.
I thought Harley Quinn was the leader.
Yeah. But yeah, so Zemo, Taskmaster isn't killed in Black Widow, which I hope to God they don't kill him. Let's see. Yelena Belova obviously is confirmed to maybe do Thunderbolt stuff. I would also want Ghost because Ghost is still alive to be on the Thunderbolts as well. Again, Abomination or Red Hulk, I don't care which one, but it's most likely going to be Abomination. And I also want Batroc the Leaper, even though he looked like he died. I don't want him to be killed. I want him to be the comic relief. I want him to be the fuck up Slipknot character. So yeah,
so there's one main difference between mine and Mikey's roster, and that is the comic relief character. I believe the comic relief character is going to be Justin Hammer, using a bunch of stolen Tony Stark weaponry that he doesn't know how to use at all, trying to be Iron Man, when in fact he is Justin Hammer of Hammer Enterprises, the second best military contractor after Stark Enterprise.
That's true. But yeah, the Thunderbolts are happening. I feel like are definitely like happening for sure.
And I will say this with 100% certainty. No shot at all Dark Avengers happens. And that is a swear on my part.
All right. So, I mean, if you want to, you have any other thoughts on Thunderbolts before we move on? I'm good. I expressed my theories. It's gonna happen. Wait, do you want them to be like a like Suicide Squad, or do you want it to be more like how they're on the comics, where like it's villains posing as heroes to then inevitably get control of the government? Like, you know?
Yeah, I want them to be more Suicide Squad, I think. I want them to
Okay.
be less I want them to be bad guys forced into doing good things. I don't want them to be bad guys just doing bad things. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get you. I get you. But yeah, so yeah, I guess we'll just move on to the next theory that we'll talk about. Actually, no, I had this one next, but we'll do the Sharon Carter stuff first. So I will say, yeah, the Sharon Carter post credit scene. And I put Sharon Carter dot Secret Invasion because like the common theory right now is that she may be a Skrull. I don't think that's true, but I just put it there just cause. Yeah, so that post credit scene where she's not pardoned anymore. She's allowed to get her old job back, and then it's revealed that she calls someone we don't know who she talked to, that instead of the super soldier serum's off the table obviously, but now government secrets are the next big thing. So yeah, what were your thoughts on that post credit scene, and what are your thoughts of her agenda going forward?
Well, obviously the person she called was the real power broker, Wolverine.
Stop it.
But in all
Stop.
seriousness, I think she's going to be the antagonist of Captain America 4.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, that's all I can really say about this scene is that like they're posing her as a potential threat for Captain America going forward, Sam Wilson, because what's a villain? I feel like an interesting villain is someone who the antagonist trusts the most. That I think like a sheep in wolf's clothing, if you will. So that's what I think going forward. I don't think the whole secret invasion thing's possible. It would be kind of cool if that was the case, because people are feeling like, well, why is her turn so drastic? Like, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you think about it, like in aspect, like the government did shit on her, so now she's going to be shitting on the government. Like, so yeah, that's what I think.
I think also Captain America, I don't think Marvel knows what to do with Captain America besides like spy espionage stuff. So
Yeah.
like she's kind of the best villain for that, and like she wouldn't really complement anyone else well enough.
Mm-hmm.
Uh because her main goal is literally like espionage. So that's kind of like perfect synergy between the two of them.
Exactly. Alec, you have any thoughts on this post credit scene? Any theories? Even though you don't like to theorize, but it's fine.
No, I mean, it's only if it's comic oriented. Well, I like not having any idea. Well, having to go back to not wanting to theorize. I don't like to set up my expectations and be disappointed by my own expectations, but
Perspective.
But she's certainly going to be a major force going forward. But they're changing up the status quo. She could be a potential. I mean, well, because Captain America 4 is being developed. It's being written by the show writer.
Yeah, Malcolm Spellman. Yeah, for sure.
So themes from this are certainly going to spill into Captain America 4. But Sharon and her rise to power is too large scale to be another show. I feel like if they did her like as a Skrull, it would be kind of a cop out, very similar to what happened with Iron Man 3.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think Marvel learned their lesson, or like I'm hoping they did. So no, I don't think she's a Skrull. It would be kind of a cop out from a storytelling standpoint. But I think Sharon is going to be a big villain going forward. I mean, nothing like she's not the big bad going forward, but she's going to be a villain going forward. Probably the main villain of a next big installment. So yeah, she's going to be a big factor going forward.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm excited to see what they do with her going forward. I do think, yeah, she's going to be the villain for Cap 4, but I don't think she's a Skrull. I'm going to I will bet that she's not a Skrull, even though I do know Secret Invasion's happening, but not with her. I don't think that's a good setup. Yeah. So now the other theory that we'll talk about real quick. Any thoughts? So Declan's not gonna like this, of course, but Dark Avengers question mark, because my thing with this, even though I don't really care much about the Dark Avengers, I could still see it happening because again we get that scene with Val and John Walker now being the U.S. agent. We see him in costume and he looks fantastic. I love the suit. I don't know why they didn't do the white in the chest piece originally, and yeah, like I think it looks so well done. But yeah, like so like he basically like yeah, like I think they could be doing Dark Avenger just because why would they have this scene in here if they weren't gonna put him on the Thunderbolts? I don't think she's a part of the Thunderbolts at all. Like, why have two separate scenes? One with Yelena Belova at the raft with Thunderbolt Ross talking with Zemo, and one with Val and now John Walker. If they were all together in the Thunderbolts, I don't think. I think that Val has a different agenda going on because again, she's Madam Hydra, so this might be more Hydra oriented type of agenda with the quote unquote darker version of the Avengers. And I believe that it's implied that like she has something to do with the US government. Maybe maybe Hydra still has influence within the US government. I have no idea. So I don't know. So what are your thoughts on this, guys?
Well, no, here's the thing though. Contessa is not a title in the American hierarchy. It's of European it's Contessa is a name for it's aristocrat, a European aristocrat. I don't think Contessa, I don't think Val is I don't think she's who she says she is. Well, she hasn't said anything, but I mean, I don't think she's a shadow company for the U.S. government. I think she's something else entirely because Contessa is not an American title. Yeah, this is not the last we've seen of John Walker, and I hope we see more of him. Considering I liked what they did with Wyatt Russell. So this isn't the last we see of John. Hopefully, have it be in another show or a TV, or a movie. It's not the last we've seen of John or Val. So I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah. For me, I feel like it's not like I would love John. I even said this to Declan. I would love him to be on the Thunderbolts. I think it would work for him to be on the Thunderbolts. You know. But I mean, like, why would this scene happen? Like, why would he have a scene just with her if it wasn't for something, that for the Thunderbolts? Because this is not for the Thunderbolts at all, I don't think. But yeah, like I'm just saying.
I think this is for the Thunderbolts. I don't see why somebody that has nothing to do with the U.S. government could get a new costume for the U.S. agent, and two, do it in a U.S. government building. Like, this is where they had his trial. I think, and also she knows U.S. government secrets, like about the authority of the S.H.I.E.L.D. or who owns the S.H.I.E.L.D. I think she is probably somewhat affiliated, if not officially, unofficially. I think that the reason why the scene is a scene in and of itself is to draw emphasis on the new costume he has. It wouldn't really make sense to have like a surprise cameo to draw away attention from that suit. I think that's why this is mainly its own scene, is for that reveal. I just don't think, if you think about brand synergy, like kind of going meta towards like how Disney wants to sell tickets towards movies and like make money, it doesn't really make sense for them to have two bad guy teams both trying to serve as like good guys. It seems like it would be competing for marketability, competing for attention, competing for all that kind of stuff. I don't think that there's going to be two bad guy teams at the same time, especially when Dark Avengers wasn't really like a long-lasting team. It only lasted for a few years. Thunderbolts however, is like a very like it has a long line in Marvel Comics, especially like with the fact that we don't have a Venom or like even like John Walker or like there was no Captain America ever on Dark Avengers. We don't have a Norman Osborn. We don't have a Bullseye. We don't have a Scorpion or a Venom. Like we don't have any of the essential characters to make up any remnants of the Dark Avengers. Whereas we do have a few Thunderbolts characters already, and people that could fit very handedly into the Thunderbolts. So that's kind of my view. I also don't know why like Hydra, like I don't know why there would be a need for the Dark Avengers, I guess.
I mean, I will say on your previous point how like we don't have the roster to make a dark, which I do agree with, that's true. But like if you don't really like realize from Kevin Feige right now, by now even though he's a comic fan and knows the material, he knows how to make changes that work. So he doesn't have to have that Venom or that Songbird as Miss Marvel or as Bullseye, as Hawkeye. He can take other characters or introduce other characters to make like a new version, a new roster. But like I'm not saying that this will happen. There's something to do with Contessa that maybe could lead to a Dark Avengers-esque type thing. But like I honestly don't really know. We honestly don't know until it happens. So
we've also never seen Feige create a team without any of the original cast.
That is true.
From the comics. I am saying right now, no shot whatsoever. That is my seal of approval.
Yeah, for me, I will say is a possibility, but it's a less likely possibility. But people are talking about this, but I honestly I don't know until I see it. And plus like they're kind of using Val as which I've heard as a like an anti Nick Fury or like a Victoria Hand character. Victoria Hand, if you don't know, was Norman Osborn's like partner with Hammer. So yeah, that's what the vibe I'm getting from her. Well, what it will entail, we don't know. But I will say Dark Avengers is a placeholder for now.
I could see Val being Amanda Waller for the Thunderbolts.
I think
could.
We don't know who controls the raft.
Yeah, that is true. And plus, she did say that that Zemo contacted her in the raft about the super soldier, so it's most likely a Thunderbolts thing. But
plus, General Ross is very old. He like the actor. I don't think Marvel could rely on him to be like a long-lasting figurehead like they did with Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
Listen. If Anthony Hopkins, if he can get an Oscar, anybody can work. All right.
Exactly, that's true. And plus, movie magic. If they ever did Red Hulk, he would be a CGI character anyway, so it doesn't really,
He wouldn't be able to do the mocap though, like Mark Ruffalo does.
That still doesn't matter.
But then they'd have to do a deep fake. Like with Mark Ruffalo, they were able to film mocap his face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that also happen. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the whole Dark Avengers theory. It's a less likely possibility, but I wouldn't mind seeing happen. But at the end, I do agree that like too much inflation with teams would happen if that was the case. But yeah. So any other thoughts before going on our final theory? Then we'll end it.
I think Val is Mephisto.
Yeah,
I thought Val was Doctor Strange.
Yeah, of course. I thought Val was the Luke Skywalker cameo we were supposed to get, right?
Is Val Pietro?
Yeah, Val's Pietro and low key. But yeah, so our final thing we'll talk about again, right after this Antifa Valley ended, and I remember we were talking about this when we were watching Mortal Kombat about like how I didn't want a second season, I wanted a movie. And then Malcolm Spellman revealed that Captain America 4 is happening with Sam as the lead. And I literally was like, holy shit, this is happening. So yeah, anyone have any thoughts on what they expect from the movie? And Alec, I know again you don't like doing that, but like any other thoughts on, for me personally, I'm excited to see it. I know like Malcolm Spellman, who again show ran the show, is in the writers' room developing the show. And I hope to see Sam again just be Captain America, have Joaquin coming to fruition as the new Falcon, as his partner. Maybe some more Eli Bradley stuff. Setting him up to be Patriot for the Young Avengers. And again, hopefully Sharon will be the main villain of the film. And again, and also we could get maybe more Val stuff, Madam Hydra stuff as well, to again further set up what they're gonna do with that character. But yeah, definitely want to start off with that. Any other thoughts that you have?
I mean, we don't even know what this phase is going to be about, like what the main overarching theme is. So I have no clue. The Infinity Stones are gone, so I don't know like what's the MacGuffin going to be.
Yeah, I saw an interview with the showrunner, like on news on Twitter, saying like, it's Marvel has tons of other projects happening that they haven't even announced.
Yeah.
So we honestly do not know. I don't expect this to happen like I don't expect it's. I mean, yeah, it's being made, but I don't expect this to be a concern right now. Is that it's happening, but it's in the same type of regard as like the Mutant movie and the Fantastic Four. It's in development. That's all we need to know right now, and just it's. I think they announced it for just sheer its anticipation. It's what it is. But I'm not too concerned about it right now. But I'm excited it's happening. I think Mackie, he has the chops to do it. I do. So to have him lead the movie would be it would be nice.
It would be nice, man. I literally have been saying that like if they did another season, especially like just because this is a black-led show, that I would kind of like shitting on that aspect. What's it called? I said you look like Steve Rogers' grandkid. But yeah, like that would undercut that character.
You can do this all day.
Yeah, like I like it would undercut that character if I'm having a black lead only on a TV show. But that he's heading his letting us a movie. I think it's a phenomenal choice because Anthony Mackie has the chops to do it. I think he's evolved as an actor to do so. And yeah, man, I'm excited to see what more we can get from Cat 4, man. But I also did say that like I also want. Like, if Marvel would want to do, if Marvel's watching, which they clearly are, I want to do like I have a pitch where you could do the Marvel one shots again and have Steve Rogers basically fill in the gap of Steve Rogers putting all the Infinity Stones back. Just call it Marvel Studios Steve Rogers and have like that fill in the gap of like him putting back all the stones and having the confrontation with Red Skull that like we never got and all that other stuff. But yeah, like Cat 4, man, I'm ready to. Even okay. One thing I do have a problem with, I didn't want Bucky to be in this. Well, not have to be a supporting role. I would rather have it just be Sam and Joaquin. Having Sam, I don't think that Sam needs another white man to hold to lift up the power of this movie. But like, I would rather him show up briefly or make a cameo. But I mean, sorry.
No, I don't think that's confirmed, Mikey. I think the only confirmation, I think the only confirmation is that it's with Anthony Mackie's returning. I think that's it.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's the case, then that's great.
If Patriot's not in this one, I am going to boycott Marvel because I want to see Patriot. I want Isaiah Bradley as Patriot holding Captain America's. I need that.
Oh yeah, you want him with the original triangle shield?
Yes.
That'd be sick. I mean, what will I honestly I have low expectations of actually seeing him in costume, but I will say that I hope we do see him again, him and his grandfather, but mostly him. Now that
If
his
we get
grandfather's
a
part.
Young Avengers, like if we get Kate Bishop without Isaiah Bradley, what's Marvel doing? Like where
Yeah.
are their minds at?
No, dude, they're definitely doing it, and they're probably using this movie to set up his character going forward. But I don't expect him to see him in costume in the next in Cap 4. Like I'm expecting more because we knew more about his grandfather more so than him. So now this movie will probably maybe give us some more backstory on that. Um, but yeah, man, I'm really excited. Even Joaquin as the Falcon, I'm excited to see him that character going forward because they definitely set that up. But but yeah, so any other thoughts on Cap 4 before we finish it off? None. All right, yeah. So, final thoughts on the show, guys. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, season 1, and now that the movie's confirmed, it probably will just be one straight season. So, yeah. I thought it was phenomenal. For me personally, I said this like many times to our friends and other people, but like this was the show I was looking more forward to than WandaVision because this is more my speed, and I love the whole espionage stuff that they do with the Captain America characters and brand. I think it's amazing. The commentary that they were hitting, I was happy that Disney hit that. Like, because I thought the show wouldn't have worked without it, and it would bother a lot of people they didn't address what they should have addressed. That was great. Again, Sebastian Stan, Anthony Mackie killed it. And, Wyatt Russell definitely killed it and proved that he is just as good as an actor as his dad. He's phenomenal. Sharon Carter, happy that she came back and was able to get more of a role. And they're setting her up to be the anti-Agent Carter, the evil Agent Carter. Going forward, I think is great. Yeah, man, everything, the Wakandans, everything. The show was, even though the show did have some nitpicky issues, I really did. I enjoyed the show a lot. And yeah, that's all I got. That's all what I got to say about it. So anyone else want to go?
I give it my stamp of approval. 2 out of 2 thumbs up.
All right. Alec, do you want to say anything? Final thoughts about the series?
Well, something the person who loves film and TV in me has to come out. I liked how this was different from WandaVision. Tonally. Sorry, Mikey.
No, it's fine. She's just trying to talk shit because I like this show more than WandaVision.
Mikey, I agree with you. I'm going to back you up on that one.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Sorry, Alec, continue.
No, it's fine. It was a different show from WandaVision, tonally and structurally. I know we don't have a lot of stuff to go off of, but how this, like, Falcon and Soldier was formatted and filmed to be like a movie split up into parts. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. WandaVision was made to be a series that's episodic in nature that can be viewed individually, piece by piece.
Yeah.
The 6 parts of Falcon Winter Soldier make up a better. It's that they meant, it's make a whole cake, basically,
exactly. and the pacing makes sense.
Yeah, that's a topic for another time. But how they filmed this with it felt like it was filmed like a movie. It had the shaky cam with it too, the handheld-esque. I don't know how they filmed it. I don't know if they filmed handheld it's or like on a rail, but either way, It felt like a movie. It felt totally different from WandaVision, which is what I like, and I hope that with the streaming service with Disney Plus that they're able to capitalize on. And that makes me even more excited for Loki coming out in June. Overall, I thought the show was a fun 6-episode series that was different from its predecessor. And that's something I'm very, very happy with.
For sure.
But either way, I like the series a lot. Great cast, fun story, fun setting. And I'm excited for Loki, and I can't wait to see what Marvel does next.
Yeah, I will end this off where I always describe this. I just always describe WandaVision as an experiment that worked very successfully. But like, and my favorite thing about the show, most importantly, is that like a lot of these characters again were background. Like Sam, we didn't know much about Sam. We knew some stuff about Bucky, but we didn't get any more backstory on like his trauma and his PTSD. And like this show for me, most of these characters, even though WandaVision did have a really good like idea of just like family and like relationships, but like this show to me felt all the characters felt real. All of their problems, their issues, like their relationships, especially with like Sam and his family and dealing with the relationships of getting a bank loan and getting rejected, I felt was so real. Isaiah's struggles, being, you know, extradited by the U.S. government and experimented on is real. You know, John Walker, like his path being just like a poster boy for the government, and the issues and problems with that is real to me. Like it's just a real show when it came to character development, and I loved it so much. And yeah, I'm excited.
I did notice a big lack in an Owen Wilson character in both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh my God!
I really hope that Loki addresses that. I'm having high hopes. I hope Loki addresses that lack of a Owen Wilson character, saying, "Wow."
Don't count on it.
Don't count on it. Yeah, don't count on it. But yeah. So what would you rate the show? I'd give this show, for me, it's like an 8. It's a solid 8, maybe 8.5 for me. I really did enjoy it.
I forget what I rated WandaVision, so I'm just gonna go off of just this standalone thing. Actually, I think I gave but WandaVision it's an 8.5, maybe, come to think of it.
Oh no, screw it. I might give it a 9. 8.5, 9. That's what I'll give this show.
Probably. Again, it's only 2 shows. I don't want to compare.
Yeah.
Mikey, it's also in that range, 8.5.
Okay.
Yeah, like 8.5.
All right.
I give it a 89% proved fresh score on RottenTomatoes.com. Yeah, I think 89 is pretty about right.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this show because no matter what, I did not get pulled out through acting, through in-universe logic, through anything like that. I was able to every week thoroughly get immersed in it.
He's so thirsty for Bucky. It's not even funny.
If I was comparing it to WandaVision, every time that actual sitcom actors were on the screen, my immersion got pulled straight out. So I would probably rate it 9 out of 10. It was very solid. I couldn't immediately recognize any flaws. Everything I wanted to happen happened. So
yeah, word. All right. So then, yeah, if anyone doesn't have anything else to say, I guess we'll just end it. Yeah. So again, thanks for everyone who was watching as well as will watch this. Thanks for Alec and Declan for joining me for almost 2.5 hours on this. I think we had a great conversation. We touched on a lot of topics, stuff like that, which I think was great, which I was expecting. So there's that. Yeah. So so for just updates, we're on hiatus a little bit with Invincible because of finals and stuff like that. So that will happen after finals are done later next week. This summer we will have definitely more panels, more reviews, because a lot of content involving comics is coming out over the course of the summer. So we're gonna definitely see a Black Widow review in the future. Definitely see Loki in the future. Yeah, man, if you haven't watched Falcon Winter Soldier and you've watched us spoil the entire thing, go do that now.
Why are you watching this?
Yeah, why are you watching this?
Go home.
Sam Wilson dies at the end.
Yeah, that's the real ending. And also, yeah, R.I.P. to Battlestar. I guess if we want to touch on that real quick. And stay safe, get vaccinated, and obviously keep watching our other videos watch all of our other videos that we've done, because it's great. We have 165 subscribers, so we're getting up there.
If you're watching right now, make sure to smash that like button. make sure to click that red subscribe button, probably like here, down there. Make sure to activate those bell notifications so you always get our content straight to your feed.
Exactly.
And have a great day.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. Get home safe.